Good morning, everyone. Good morning and welcome to our special event with the 2019 World Champion of Public Speaking, Toastmaster Aaron W. Beverly. I am honored to present Aaron to you this morning, and on behalf of North-South, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to Aaron, all of the organizers, parents, and the NSF's public speaking participants. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Rao Chelasani, the chairman of the board of North-South Foundation, to say a few words and welcome Aaron.
Thank you, Sravanti. Thanks for your time and effort for putting this together and also participating quite heavily in the sessions that we had before. We had 8 coaches. This year is the first year that we did online, 97 students, each one going for 6 sessions, given an opportunity to speak and evaluate and recalibrate. Now, this is great work, especially when it works with Toastmasters International, the most renowned organization for public speaking in the world. So from that perspective, I feel extremely comfortable. I just would like to say a couple of things about North-South organization. It is a large family. That's not going to change. We started with empathy. We extended that to excellence. This is one part of that excellence, but we insist on integrity leading to leadership. There are no leaders that succeed if they don't have empathy and integrity, no matter what level of excellence that they have. So from that perspective, what is needed for a leader, starting at North-South with empathy, showing excellence and exhibiting integrity, and then getting that leadership skills. In that process, what you're doing with Toastmasters International 70 is extremely helpful, because leaders do not float to the top unless they have good public speaking abilities. Nowadays, with the internet being a buzz with misinterpretations, half-truths and all that, people with empathy, excellence, and integrity, showing leadership and exhibiting that with a talent to speak well is of immense importance. Whatever North-South can do, no matter how small it is a contribution to greater good. Thank you, and I turn it back to you. And I want to thank Aaron for giving us this time. I know how valuable your time is, Aaron. You're world champion of public speaking, and it's very much appreciated. Back to you, Sravanti.
Thank you, Mr. Rao, for that warm welcome, and welcome everyone once again. I would like to, before we move on, let you know to put your questions in the chat box for Aaron. Aaron, myself, Praveen, as well as Sampath are watching the chat box for you, and Aaron's going to make this as interactive as possible. A little bit about Aaron before we begin. Aaron is a keynote speaker, storyteller, trainer, and a world traveler. In August 2019, Aaron Beverly emerged as the winner of the Toastmasters International Speech Contest, an annual public speaking competition that includes over 30,000 competitors worldwide. Performing the speech entitled An Unbelievable Story, Aaron provided a humorous take on the heavy subject of race and the importance of acceptance despite difference. That speech won Aaron the prestigious title of the World Champion of Public Speaking. An accomplished speaker prior to the 2019 championship, Aaron also earned second place in the International Speech Contest in 2016. Giving a speech that has come to be known simply as the 57 World Title Speech, Aaron spoke about the power of using a few words in a world that believes more is better. Beverly is also a 5-time speech contest semifinalist and a Mark the Story Slam winner. Oddly enough, Aaron considers himself to be one of the most introverted people you can meet. Public speaking and storytelling were extroverted activities he never thought he'd pursue. However, with hard work, dedication, and a team of invaluable supporters, Aaron has become proficient in both skills and has learned to balance his innate introversion with flashes of extroversion. Storytelling and public speaking have not only led Aaron to engage audiences at Fortune 100 companies such as Vanguard, JP Morgan Chase, and Wells Fargo, notable universities such as Temple, Drexel, and the University of Pennsylvania, but they have also allowed Aaron to travel to countries around the world, including Taiwan, Malaysia, India, and the extremely foreign land known as Canada. Aaron is living proof that the art of communication can have a profoundly positive effect on the advancement of your professional career and the fulfillment of your life. Aaron's here with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 2019 World Champion of Public Speaking, Aaron Beverly. Take it away, Aaron.
Thank you, Servanti, and thank you for everyone for attending today. I do have a couple of requests before we get started with today's presentation. Firstly, if you are not speaking, please make sure that you are on mute. That way we don't get any additional feedback and you can hear the presentation clearly. Okay, great. So again, if you do have questions, I ask that you put them into the questions box. And as I go through this presentation, I'm going to be asking you to participate through the chat. So you can use the chat box to interact with me, to answer the questions that I ask of you. So I just want to test this out very quickly and see who we have paying attention right now. Please type in a yes or a no if you can follow the instructions by putting it into the chat. And I already see one yes in there, but put this in the chat box. Okay, they're coming in through the questions box, but we'll work with it. But thank you everyone for your participation so far. Now, when it comes to public speaking, what is public speaking? This is what I want to share with you first before we dive in further with this session. Public speaking has really changed. It's no longer just you getting in front of an audience and talking. Public speaking is a lot bigger now. If you have a YouTube channel, I view you as a public speaker. If you speak on video, you're a public speaker. If you speak in front of an audience, you are a public speaker. If you are a teacher, you are a public speaker. If you are a priest, a pastor, a reverend, you are a public speaker. Public speaking is a lot larger than what it used to be. So what I want you to understand is that you do public speaking every single day, because in addition to being a teacher, in addition to being a professional speaker like I am, you also practice public speaking every day. But because we do this every day, you would think that it would be super easy for us. Now, really quick, in the chat box this time, so make sure that we're using the box that's labeled chat, type in a yes or a no, whether you actually have a fear of public speaking. And okay, so I do see that people only see the questions box, so we'll just work with that. So you can keep typing it in to the questions box, and I will keep an eye on that. All right. Well, we have a lot of people that are saying yes. There are some people who say no, and that's great. But there are two terms that I want to introduce to you all. Two terms are glossophobia and thanatophobia. One of these is the fear of public speaking. The other is the fear of death. What's very interesting is that if you go to any list of top fears, you will find that these two fears are right next to one another. In more cases than not, public speaking, glossophobia, is actually higher than thanatophobia, the fear of death. That means people would rather be in a casket than the one giving a eulogy. Now, why is this? Why do we fear public speaking? Why do we have an anxiety of public speaking? This is really what I want to go over with you today. So, what we're going to really tackle is the fear of public speaking and how you can master it. To give you some more background about myself, I am what is known as an introvert. I was a very shy person. When I was some of your ages, I did not want to be a part of public speaking at all. I did not want the spotlight. But now I'm able to speak in front of 2,000 people for a world championship of public speaking. I'm able to speak all around the world. Now, yes or no? Do you feel that I have conquered my fear of public speaking? Yes or no? Yep, so this one is a bit of a trick question. It is a yes and a no. I have conquered my fear a lot of public speaking when I speak to certain audiences, but there are some occasions where I will still feel nervous. Another quick poll. What do you think are some of the symptoms of fear of public speaking? So, when you fear public speaking, what usually happens? What do you feel? What do you do? Shaky hands and swaying, okay? Avoiding eye contact, yep. Your heart rate, yes. I see a lot of sweat, butterflies in your stomach, you shiver, nervousness, jittery legs, talking quietly, you get dizzy, you shake. Yeah, this happens a lot. Fainting, wow, that's an extreme one. But I've actually heard people that have fainted before when they had to speak. All right. So these are the symptoms of having anxiety. These are the symptoms of having that fear. But what is it that we're really afraid of? I'm here to tell you today that I don't believe that there is a such thing as a fear of public speaking. But what is it then that you fear? Now, I'm gonna want you to sit and reflect for a while. I'm going to give you 1 minute, and I want you to write down all of the reasons why you think people fear public speaking or why you fear public speaking. And what we're going to do, we are going to use this as the base of our presentation today. And we are going to tackle every single one of those that we possibly can in the time that we have together. So I'm going to give you a minute. So before you start putting into the chat box, just take a minute and think, and then we'll start. I really want you to think about this because this is really important. I want you to think of all of the reasons why you fear public speaking or why other people fear public speaking. All right, a minute has passed. If you haven't started putting in anything, put in your comments now. All right, we are getting a lot of answers here. That is great. All right. So what we just did, everyone, and you can keep on putting in your answers. What we just did is a very critical exercise. And I hope that you keep this lesson from this day forward in whatever you do, whatever high school you may go to, whatever college you may go to, whatever career that you end up pursuing. I want you to keep this in mind when it comes to the fear of public speaking. There is no such thing as a fear of public speaking. What you fear is an aspect of public speaking. There were a lot of people who, when I asked, were they afraid of public speaking before, they said, no, I was not afraid of public speaking. But they were able to quickly identify reasons why people may have fear or why they may have a fear of something else. You want to always be specific. You always want to be as specific as possible when it comes to the fear of public speaking. If you say that I have a fear of public speaking, what you are basically doing, you are making the challenge for yourself this huge mountain that you cannot possibly overcome. But by specifying what it is that is making you fearful, by identifying what happens when you become fearful, you then become a master of identifying the fear, and you become a master of specifying the fear so that you can take action on that fear. So the first step in mastering the fear of public speaking is to first know the symptoms of it. And we've done that. You have the shaky hands, you have the jitters, you have the butterflies in your stomach, your heart is racing. Then you can identify that you have the anxiety, you have the fear. But after that, you have to specify exactly why it is that you have those reactions. So let's go through some of these reactions, and we are going to try to tackle as many of these, and I'm going to give you as many possible answers as I possibly can about how you can conquer the fear of these different aspects of public speaking. So let's start with the first one that came in. I believe people fear public speaking because when a person is giving a speech, the audience will give negative gestures, for example, nodding their head in disapproval, and make people feel like they were let down. They don't really want to see that because you want people to be nice to you, and so you can be nice to them. That is very, very true. A lot of people will notice the people in the audience when they speak. They want to be accepted. Everyone wants to be accepted as a person. However, when you are on stage and you are speaking, what you should be concentrating on are the people who will agree with you. There could be one person in your audience who may be mocking you or trying to talk over you or being mean or disrespectful. But what you need to focus on are all of the other people who are listening to you. Now, at your ages, when you are presenting, you're going to be presenting more in places like your classrooms. And in those places, you usually have an adult that can help you with those situations. But what you need to make sure that you do is not focus on those who are not being nice or those who are not listening to you. You want to focus on the people who do want to hear you. That is what your goal is as a speaker, to help the people who want to listen to you. Okay, moving on to the next one. So I think it's a fear of doing something and not fitting in. So again, this goes back to the fear of not being accepted. And this one is really critical for a lot of people. A lot of people don't want to feel like they're left out. And it's not just in public speaking. We look at social media and we look at our friends and our peers. We always want to be accepted. Now, one thing that you need to keep in mind when it comes to public speaking, most of the time, the audience is going to be on your side. Nobody is waiting for you just to get up on stage and fail. This is something that I learned very early on in my time speaking. I remember thinking that people were going to think I was stupid, people were going to reject me. Every single time that I've spoken, I've never had somebody come up to me and say, Aaron, I hated your speech. I never want to hear from you again. It doesn't happen. So a lot of times the fear of not fitting in is greater than the actual reality of us not fitting in. We're more afraid of something happening, but it's not really based on reality. So a lot of it is just a mindset shift that nobody really wants to see you fail. They want to see you succeed. All right, so I'm going to try to go through these a little bit faster. Maybe they think that people will laugh at them or something. Yep. And again, it's the fear of being rejected, the fear of fitting in. So again, focus on not, don't focus on the fitting in aspect, because you will fit in. Don't have that fear, because it's not going to be your reality most of the time. I guarantee it. Embarrassing yourself and low self-esteem, fear of speaking because you're in front of all those people. Now, this is a big one. So this is a fear of just having so many people in front of you. Now, this is something that I realized when I was speaking for the World Championship of Public Speaking. I had to speak in front of 2,000 people. That was possibly the biggest audience that I have ever spoken to. But when you are speaking, there's a trick that you can do. Instead of trying to see everybody in the crowd, you only need to pick out a certain spots in the audience. You don't have to give eye contact to every single person in that large audience. You only have to pick out specific people. And when you are doing that, look at the people who may be smiling. Look at the people who may be nodding in agreement. So this goes back to what we said before about not focusing on the people who are against you, or not focusing on the people who are not listening to you. You want to focus on the people who are with you. You want to focus on the people who are smiling, who are agreeing with you. So find those people in the audience, choose different spots of the room that you're speaking in, and you can look at those people directly. And you don't have to speak to the entire 2,000 people. You only have to speak to those few people in the audience. And it will still seem as if you are speaking to everybody. So that's a trick that a lot of public speakers use. Don't look at everybody. Pick out certain people in different parts of the room. And that way it still looks as if you are giving eye contact and attention to everybody in the room. All right, let's see if we can pick out a few more. All right, so this is a good one. Unable to construct sentences that are complete and comprehensive. Now, this one is more of a fear because maybe English isn't your first language. So this is just a matter of making sure that you have the proper teachings and learning in grammar. I want you to write this down because this is a great resource that you can use. And very quickly, yes or no, are you familiar with the Khan Academy, Khan Academy? All right, a lot of you are familiar with the Khan Academy. And a lot of you may be familiar with the Khan Academy because it helps you with math. It also helps you with grammar. There is a grammar class that you can take on the Khan Academy. So if you do feel that grammar is not something that you can use, yeah, somebody, Arush, you said it helps you with everything. Yes, it really is a great resource and it can help you with grammar and it can help you with storytelling. So that will be, I'm not going to say I'll give you homework because I hated homework when I was a kid, so I'm not going to give you homework. But if you have the time, you can actually go onto Khan Academy and you can find a grammar class and you can go through any parts of grammar that you struggle with, and that way you can better craft a presentation and craft a good speech. All right. Fear of public speaking, just the thought of being in, oh, sorry, we already went over that one. So somebody gave a few reasons. Nervousness, facing audiences, not sure what questions I face, how to keep them engaged. So these are really good. Nervousness, I'm not sure if you can, well, I can't see if you're going to do this or not, but if you can, do this activity with me. Sometimes when we are nervous, so we feel the nervousness and we just know we don't want to express this nervousness in front of our audience. And the fact that the audience may see us being nervous makes us even more nervous. Here's something that you can do. And it's really simple and it's something that you do every day. Breathe. Just breathe in and out, but not just any type of breathing. So I come from a singing background, and as a singer, they tell us not to just breathe, but they tell us to breathe from what's called the diaphragm. So, what is the diaphragm? I want you to place your hands on your stomach and then breathe in. Now, as you breathe in, you'll feel your stomach moving out. And when you breathe out, you feel your stomach moving back in. This is something that this is a way that you know that you are breathing from the diaphragm. So breathe in and breathe out. If you keep taking these big breaths, you can start to scale back your nervousness. You'll feel that your nervousness does become less if you focus on the breathing. So just focus on your stomach going in and out. It's like doing meditation. So just breathe in and out and do that for about a minute. Another thing that you can do to control your nervousness. And again, you want to specify exactly why it is that you are nervous. Perfect example for me was that before the World Championship of Public Speaking, I was nervous and I felt my body trembling. I felt my heart racing. I felt the butterflies in my stomach, even though I was a master public speaker, even though I knew that the audience was going to be on my side. I was not going to be rejected. I was still nervous. So I had to identify why I was nervous. And it was because of the scale of what I was doing. I was about to speak for the World Championship of Public Speaking. There were very high stakes. Once I identified what it was that was making me nervous, I decided I needed to take my mind off of the high stakes. I needed to take my mind off of the contest. The way that I did that, again, this is really simple. You listen to music, listen to your favorite song. So after you have done all the practicing that you have done that you can do, make sure that you have all of your props or all of your materials in order. After that, you're ready. It's just a matter now of making sure that you are in the right mindset. And I listen to music to put myself in the right mindset. So my favorite song, it will help me feel better, and then I'm ready to give the presentation. That's what I did for the World Championship of Public Speaking. So that helps you with nervousness. Now, facing audiences not sure what questions that you face. This is when we have those question and answer sessions, right? When we have these, we don't know what questions will come. The best way to handle this is to prepare ahead of time. You may not know every single answer, or you may not know every single question that you may get, but you can plan out, okay, I think this is going to be what I'm talking about. Now, what would people ask me about this? And you make a list of all of the possible questions that you can get. Now, when you get to the stage later and people give you questions, you will have been able to anticipate what questions you get, and you'll be able to practice answering those questions that you anticipated. So it will be a lot easier for you. Well, am I saying that you will be ready for every single possible question? Probably not. But the other thing with that is that you want to make sure you get the experience. You want to make sure that you're getting up, that you're talking to people in that type of environment, and they're always asking you questions. So the more experience you get with that, the better you will be later on. And next is how to keep them engaged. Okay, so what are some ways that you think you can keep an audience engaged? I want you to type in the chat. What ways do you think you can keep an audience engaged in your presentation? Storytelling, that's a good one. So we got make jokes, humor, jokes, all right in succession. Okay, ask a question. Keeping eye contact, that's good. Fear and suspense, oh, like a movie, okay. Change your voice, interactive questions. Okay, okay. Jokes on yourself. Now, all of these are ways. So you already know these answers, a lot of you. These are all ways that you can keep your audience engaged. Now, you will also notice one way that you can keep people engaged, and this is the way that I have been keeping you engaged, and somebody got it very early on, is to ask questions. You ask questions, and then you have the audience answer those questions. So you can ask what's called a rhetorical question, meaning that you don't necessarily need the audience to answer. You just need them to think about it. Or you can just ask a question like a poll. How many of you like music? Show of hands. That's one way that you can get the audience engaged. And also by asking them to raise their hand, you're getting them to move. It's a great way to make sure that people are moving and that they are not just sitting there listening to you ramble on and on and on. Now, I can talk to you for an hour, just me talking to you and not have you put anything in the chat, but I'm pretty sure that would be very boring for a lot of you. So that is why I'm asking you questions. That's why I'm asking you to think. That's why I'm asking you to participate in this session. Now, we did get a lot of comments about humor and jokes. Now, humor and jokes, it can be a way to keep the audience engaged, but it's not the best way to keep the audience engaged because, especially when you're telling jokes, if you're not a naturally funny person, it's going to be possible that you're going to not reach a lot of people in your audience. So I would avoid using jokes as a way to keep people engaged and stick more so to the questions and activity. So let's see, what others did we get? So pitch and tone and hand gestures. So these were some that came up a lot as well. And again, that is true. Changing voice in your vocal tones. This is what we call vocal variety. Now I can talk like this the entire presentation. Now, answer me, yes or no. Do you want to hear me talk like this throughout the entire presentation? And this is the only way that I talk from this point forward. A lot of notes. Yep. No, no, no. I was actually thinking that somebody was going to type yes. Exactly. But you don't want to hear me talk like that. And when people hear you speak, they don't want to hear you talk like that either. They want you to speak with variety in your tones. Think about how you talk with your friends. Think about how you talk to your parents. Think about how you talk to other members of your family. You don't talk to them like this. You talk normally. So use your normal speaking patterns. Now, there are times when you can change your voice. If you're really good at making voices and you want to put characters in a story, you can definitely do that. But you don't have to make voices if you aren't capable of doing that. You can just use a slightly louder tone sometimes. You can use some softer tones sometimes. You can start speaking really fast, or you can speak very slow. These are very small changes that you can use to keep your audience engaged as they listen to you. Now, another answer that you gave me was storytelling. And this is my favorite way to keep my audience engaged. Let me tell you a quick story about how I realized what my fear of public speaking was. I was a sophomore in college, so it was my second year in college, and I decided to join a student leadership program, similar to the program that you are a part of. At the end of this, there was a graduation of sorts, and every graduate had a role. My role was to give a gift to the speaker of the day and give him a gift and say a few words of appreciation. I only had to say 3 lines. On behalf of the Student Leadership Training Institute, we would like to thank you for your time today. Please accept this token of appreciation. That was it. The day comes, the speaker finishes speaking, I get up, I shake his hand, and I say, on behalf of, I completely went blank. And when you mess up on stage, sometimes you realize how slow time seems to be going. And that is when you realize how many eyes are staring at you. It was 15 seconds of the longest, most awkward silence that you could ever hear. Meanwhile, during those 15 seconds, I am still holding this man's hand. He's looking at me as if to say, kid, please say something. It is not that hard. I did. I said, here. And I sat down. But that was the day that I realized what I truly feared when it came to public speaking. My biggest fear back then was that I would mess up, forget what I wanted to say, and embarrass myself. That is a quick story that I tell to keep people engaged in my presentation. So if you have a story about yourself, you can tell to your audience, that is a great way to keep them engaged. Now, there are different ways that you can tell a better story. And again, I would send you to the Khan Academy because they also have a storytelling curriculum that you can follow. So you can take their storytelling class and learn more about how to tell a good story. But that is another way that you can keep your audience engaged. All right, so let's go back to more of the fears of public speaking. So, lack of confidence, time management, anxiety can't convey the message that you want right away. Yes. So, when it comes to creating the message right away, preparation is always key. Now, if you're asked to speak impromptu, if you're asked to speak on the spot, then you can definitely be more nervous. That's something that you have to get more experience doing. However, as students, very rarely will you be asked to give a presentation and you not know what that presentation is going to be. You're usually going to have time to prepare. So you have to make sure that you prepare. Practice, practice, practice. Make sure that you start the work well in advance. The further in advance that you work, the less anxiety you are going to have. So if you have a project or an assignment given to you by your teacher or your parents or something else, make sure that you start on it as soon as possible. Because if you start on it as soon as possible, you're going to be able to prepare faster. And if you're able to prepare faster, you can practice better. If you are able to practice better, you will be better prepared the day of your final presentation. And that is also the way that you tackle time management. So make sure that you give yourself adequate time. Make sure that you start preparing well in advance. All right. And to the point about the lack of confidence, because there was somebody else that came up with nervousness. So lack of confidence is something that is it's a mindset. You feel that you don't have the confidence to do something. So what you need to do, you need to set a goal for yourself. So if you are still afraid of public speaking and you still have anxiety, set a goal for yourself to say, okay, I'm going to speak for at least 30 seconds in front of a big group. Just 30 seconds. And 30 seconds could be just introducing yourself to the crowd. Once you do that, when you sit down, you'll just have this rush of relief. Like, oh, I did it. When you do that, you're going to be able to add more confidence to yourself. You'll be able to be more confident the next time you do it. And then you can set a higher goal to speak for 45 seconds, then up to a minute. Then all of a sudden, before you know it, you are speaking for an hour and they can't even get you off the stage. Now, you may not think that you're able to do that, but keep in mind, at one time, I never thought that I would be able to do that either. Okay, so this next one, we have a pretty long one. I believe people fear public speaking because sometimes when a person is giving a speech, so this was the one that we answered before, so I apologize. All right, so a lot of these are some of the ones that we've answered before. So we talked about having low self-esteem. We talked about people not agreeing with you. Okay, and so again, we have another one where fear of forgetting what you want to say and you hate impromptu speeches. Yes, I also hate impromptu speeches. I do not like speaking at the last second. But if you are able to prepare, make sure to prepare well in advance. Okay, a fear of saying something wrong. This is a good one because there are times when you're speaking and you say something that is wrong. You say something that's incorrect. There are a couple things that you can do with this. One, if you know what you said was wrong, you pause, you say, sorry, what I meant to say was, and then you tell them what you meant to say. Do not be afraid of messing up. You can always apologize and go back to what you intended to say. The purpose of speaking is not to make yourself look good. It's to make sure that you give the message that you are supposed to give. That is the goal of a speaker, to give a message to the audience that they are supposed to give. So it's okay if you fumble. It's okay if you make a mistake. It's okay if you say something that's incorrect. You can always pause and correct yourself. Now, if you don't know that you were incorrect and you find out later, you can always say it in your next presentation that I apologize, I misstated something before. This is the actual truth. This is what I got incorrect. So you can always do it after. But don't be afraid of just messing up, because you can always pause, you can always go back, and you can always make sure that you provide the correct information. All right. So this one, it doesn't look like it is answering the question. So this looks like more of a question. So I think this is actually a great opportunity for us to go into a Q&A session. So we talked about the fear of public speaking. And before I start answering through this first question here, type in yes or no. Do you understand that there is no such thing as a fear of public speaking? There's only a fear of aspects of public speaking. That is great. I'm seeing a lot of yeses. I'm seeing all yeses. That is incredible. Yes. So if you leave with nothing else, please remember that you have to specify what it is that is giving you the anxiety. And keep in mind, this isn't just for public speaking. Anything where you may have anxiety, if you have a fear of doing something new, ask yourself, what is it that I am truly afraid of? Am I afraid because I don't have the knowledge of this new activity? Make sure that you specify what it is so that you can take action on that fear. But thank you, everyone, for saying yes, that you understand. That is everything that I wanted to tell you today, that you don't have a fear of public speaking. You have a fear of an aspect of public speaking. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to start answering some of your questions. So the first question that I saw, sorry, just let me go back to it here in the chat. So what was it like when I was in the World Championship of Public Speaking? So this is the first question that I saw. And as you have more questions, you can type them in. But when I was in the World Championship of Public Speaking, I said a little bit before that I was nervous. I was about to speak in front of 2,000 people, and I was about to speak for the World Championship of Public Speaking. Now, I had practiced a lot before then. So I had also watched a lot of public speakers before. I was ready. I knew my material. I knew I was as ready as I was going to be. So that's why I decided that I wasn't going to focus on the contest, and I was going to just put my mind at ease and not focus on the contest, because I knew when I went on stage, I was ready. I had prepared everything. Everything was set. I was good to go. So I was nervous, but I found ways to make sure that I got out of my nervousness so that I could focus on the task at hand. All right. So let's see some of these other questions. What are some tips about impromptu speaking? Okay, really quick. So, impromptu speaking, I've always gotten better at impromptu speaking just by speaking more impromptu. And I actually practice speaking impromptu. Here's a little activity that you can do when you have some time and you want to just prepare for impromptu speeches. What you can do is go onto YouTube. This is something that I did in the past to practice my impromptu speaking. Go onto YouTube and look up something called table topics. Table topics is an activity that Toastmasters do to practice their impromptu speaking skills. And when you type that in, you're going to see a table topic session in, in session. And they're going to give a question. When they give the question, pause it. And then you answer that question for 1 to 2 minutes. And after you have given your presentation, unpause it and listen to the person who answered the prompt on the video. You can see if what you said was similar to them. You can see if what you said was better than them, or you can see if it's something that you still need to work on. But that is a great way to practice your impromptu speaking skills. And that way, you don't have to stand in front of an audience to do that. But I do recommend that if you do want to get better at impromptu speaking, you have to get up in front of an audience and practice it. You can rarely get better at public speaking or any aspect of public speaking by not doing public speaking. You have to speak. All right, next question. As a speaker, is there a difference between physical audience and an online audience? Yes, there is. As a person who is really used to a live audience, I have to realize that there are different ways that I need to present. One example, eye contact. Now, if we had a visual of all of you on the screen, it would be very tempting for me to look down at the screen and see your faces, because as a speaker in a live audience, I'm used to seeing people's faces and giving proper eye contact. But online, that's not giving proper eye contact. If you notice, if I look down at my screen, it looks as if I'm not giving you eye contact at all. What I have to do, I have to look directly into the camera lens. And that is how I give you proper contact online. That's one of the biggest differences between a live audience and an online audience. You have to look at the camera and give eye contact to the camera and not give eye contact to a regular audience. Another thing that is different is that the humor changes. So I am a humorist. I like to use humor in my speeches, but delivery of humor changes when you're doing it online rather than when you have a live audience. Because let's say that I told a joke, I would want to wait to hear the audience laugh. And I would pause for a brief moment and then continue. However, now I don't have the benefit of hearing a live audience, so I can no longer hear them laugh. I have to deliver my lines quickly, and I cannot pause for laughter that I'm not sure is happening or not. Those are the two main differences. There are many more, but those are the two that I'll give you just for the sake of time. Okay. And what do you do if you keep stuttering about what you want to say and be confident when speaking? Okay. Everybody, I want you to do this activity with me right now. So, if you are giving a speech and you find that you're stuttering, you find that you can't find the words, do this with me. Just pause. So, you just want to be silent for a moment. Think about what it is that you want to say. Don't be afraid of the silence. In fact, let's just sit in silence for 10 seconds. Just enjoy silence wherever you are. That's pretty nice. Silence is a wonderful thing. Do not be afraid of silence. There are a lot of times when you are stuttering or when you are speaking that you feel like you have to use every single second to say something. However, you can say a lot more sometimes, and you can say things a lot more efficiently if you just pause from time to time. When you pause, you allow yourself to gather your own thoughts. You allow the audience to catch up to what it is that you said, and you can easily think about what it is you want to say next. Pausing is not bad. So do not be afraid of silence. Do not be afraid to occasionally stop and just think. And then you can think about what you want to say and then say it. But in addition to that, one other tip that I would give you is that as a speaker, you should slow down your speaking pace. When your heart is racing and when you're nervous on stage, you just want to get through your speech as fast as possible. So you keep talking really, really fast so that you can get off the stage as soon as possible. But you'll find that the faster you try to speak, the more times you will mess up. The rate that I'm speaking at you right now is not my normal speaking rate. This is not how I normally talk. However, this is how I will usually talk when I speak to people because I want them to follow along with what I say. And I don't want to fumble over my own words, which is something that I do a lot in my normal day to day speech when I use my normal speaking pace. So it's okay to pause and it's okay to speak slightly slower than you normally speak. Okay, if you were in a situation where you couldn't prepare and you just hit a speaker's block, what should you do? Okay, now there are occasions where you will be asked to speak without any prior knowledge. However, when you are asked to speak on the spot, it's usually because the person who's asking you to speak knows that you are knowledgeable about a certain subject. So if you are a person who likes science and somebody wants you to come up and talk about something that you like about science, it's impromptu, but you have that subject matter ready. You know, you are knowledgeable about that subject. So you can talk about it easily. Very rarely will you have somebody who wants you to speak about something that you have no clue. So, what I would offer you as a suggestion to be ready for those moments is that whatever it is that you are knowledgeable on, be ready to speak about that. So, if you're in school and you really are good at a certain subject, you may want to be ready for a teacher calling you up to answer a problem or to read something in front of your class. It will be impromptu, it will be on the spot, but they're asking you because they know that you are knowledgeable about the subject that you are asked to speak about. All right, next question. How do you write the speech? This is a really interesting question, and I'm going to give you a really great way to quickly write your speeches. And I wish that this had existed when I was your age because I would have been using it all the time. If you have a cell phone, if you have a tablet device, I want you to find that right now. And if you can't find it right now, that's fine. You can do it a little bit later. But if you have it, I want you to find any application that you can type in text. So I'm going to use one of my note-taking applications. So if you see my keyboard, by this space bar, there is a little microphone to the left side of the space bar. When you tap this, it goes into what's called voice to text. So it's listening to me and it is typing out everything that I say. This is what I do when I want to write a speech, but I hate the writing process. Now, what's difficult about this is that you will notice there are no punctuation marks. So if you need to add a punctuation mark, you just need to say that punctuation, period. This is how you can write a speech quickly, exclamation point. So that is a very quick way that I write out my speeches. I really do not like the writing process. I hate sitting in front of a blank page and thinking about, okay, what do I write? This is a great way for you to put content on a page and then you can go back and edit it later. Okay, so we are at 12:05. So I'm going to answer a few more questions and then we will wrap up. But one thing that I will say, if I am not able to answer your questions here, or if you have questions that you want to ask me later on, you can always reach out to me. I am on social media. You can find me on Instagram. You can also find me on YouTube at Aaron W. Beverly, and I'll type that in the chat. Okay. I'm not sure if that went through or not, but at Aaron _W_ Beverly. So that is how you can know. That is how you can ask your questions to me online. Just find me online and I will answer any question that you have if I'm not able to get to it today. So just let's go through a couple more questions. All right. So wow, a lot of questions did come in. So maybe I'll answer a few more than just a few.
Aaron, may I ask you a question? This is Shravanti.
Yes.
Seeing as how there are preteens and teenagers who are our participants, there is one thing about being accepted, that fear of being judged. It came through a couple of times. How does a teen accept himself or herself, especially when he has to speak, when he has to convey and express, whether it's his feelings or whether it's in the classroom or a playground setting? How is that judgment? How do you handle that judgment when it comes to saying something meaningful, saying something that's important? And I think a lot of our teens, acceptance is a big thing, whether it's on social media, whether it's in the classroom, whether it's on stage or in the playground. So how do you overcome that with overcoming these aspects of public speaking?
Hmm. So again, we said that the fear of not being accepted is big. But one way that well, it's very difficult, especially depending on what it is you want to talk about. Every subject won't be viewed as openly as other subjects, and every audience that you speak to may not be as receptive as every other audience. For instance, if you don't want to do something and your parents want you to do it, it's going to be very difficult for your parents to accept that. So that's going to be difficult, but you really want to speak from the heart. You want to speak about what you believe in, what you believe is right, what you believe is wrong. Sometimes people will not accept your opinion. People will reject your opinion. That is unfortunately a way of life. But you have to be true to yourself, because if you aren't true to yourself, if you don't speak from your own heart and you allow yourself to be dictated by other people's opinions and other people's thoughts, you are going to be more unhappy, and you don't want to be unhappy. So you have to be true to yourself as much as you possibly can and be 100% authentic in what you tell people. Even if people don't agree, there are a lot of people who will respect you for being authentic and for being true. So that is the best advice that I can give you about being accepted, especially as a teenager. There are people who will not like the fact that you're so dedicated to education. They will say, "Oh, why don't you just hang out with us? Why don't you do this or that instead of just focusing on your studies all the time," or something like that. But you have to do what's true to you. You have to do what you believe is right. You cannot do everything that everybody else does. You have to do what you believe you should do.
Fantastic. Thank you. That authenticity portion of it is wonderful. Allowing ourselves to speak from the heart, being human, accepting ourselves. And I loved what you said. What you believe is right and what you believe is wrong, right? We tell ourselves. We tell ourselves who we are and what we must and must not believe. Are there any last questions? Aaron, this has been wonderful. And I especially, as our last compliments and comments and questions start trickling in, I want to really, from the bottom of my heart, tell you how much this has meant to all of us. And I want to say that because the big reason is yesterday when we talked very briefly in the afternoon, you asked me, what we would like addressed. And you today whittle down some of the most important aspects of public speaking to appeal to our younger audiences. That I think is so powerful. You gave us practical tips. You did not make public speaking feel like a faraway thing. It's that faraway mountain that you have to scale. That's really not what you told us. You gave us practical tips, how we can breathe, how we can go to Khan Academy, how we can practice impromptu speaking, how we can overcome that fear and focus on one or two people that actually agree with us a lot, making the audience our ally as opposed to fearing them. I love how you whittle that down. So any last compliments, comments, or anything else that our audience would like to ask, Aaron?
All right. Yeah, there is one that I see that I want to, well, two that I really want to answer because they're very
Perfect.
interesting points. So, how do you become a world champion? How do you become a world champion of public speaking? Well, you have to join the organization Toastmasters International. And unfortunately, you have to be over the age of 18 to join Toastmasters. But there are other public speaking forums, especially for those who are younger, that you can do. I can't recall it off the top of my head, but there is an
There's a
international.
Gavel Club program.
Yeah, there's a Gavel Club program, but there's actually another international organization that helps students or young people speak, and they have annual competitions and they crown their own champions. So they have other, and there are other international speaking champions. But to be a Toastmasters world champion of public speaking, you have to be in Toastmasters and you have to be over the age of 18 and you have to go through 6 rounds over a span of 8 months. And out of 30,000 people, they will crown you the world champion of public speaking if you get to that level. I tried many times to be the world champion of public speaking. I started in 2012 and finally won in 2019. And if you are wondering what the trophy looks like, it's not the one in back to me. That's my second place trophy. I keep it in front of me at all times. Here is the first place trophy for the international speech contest. And there you go. But the other question that I really wanted to answer was, are comedian or stand-up comedians better public speakers? And this, I really like your insight for this question because comedians are the most successful public speakers that you can see today. Comedians are public speakers because they go through a lot of the same processes that we talked about. They handle a lot of the same fears that we talk about. When a comedian gets on stage, they are constantly refining their presentation. They're refining their routines. They're making them better over time. If you ever watch a comedian special or comedy special, that comedian has practiced that routine in hundreds of different places. They know what works, they know what doesn't work, and they are only picking out the best material and putting it into that special. It's similar for a professional public speaker. So somebody like me who gives keynote speeches and trainings, they will refine their material in different places, then they will consolidate the best parts and put it into a final presentation. But I love your insight because comedians are some of the best public speakers. And remember, public speaking does not mean just getting in front of a group of people and giving a speech. Especially now with this era of online presentations, public speaking is now a much bigger platform. You can use video, you can use the internet, you can use live audiences if you are able to do it. But just realize that public speaking is not as small of a world as you may think. There are a lot of successful speakers out there, and there are plenty of people that you can learn from. And with that, I will hand things back over to you, Sravanti.
Aaron, thank you. I'm not sure if we can unmute everyone to give you one big round of applause. Can we do that, Praveen or Sampath?
Let me try. Included.
Yes, there you go. There you go.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Aaron. And when I was coaching my 12 students through the 6 weeks of North-South public speaking program these past few weeks, I had told them what an honor it was, what a thrilling experience it was for me to be in the audience when you spoke. And I get goosebumps just now as I finished my sentence. It was just a wonderful experience. And to have you speak so naturally, I think one of the things that I have learned from public speakers is that it is not a speech making activity. It is a speaking activity. So making speeches is one thing, but actually speaking from your heart, saying what you feel like saying, and bringing that authenticity that you so eloquently and simply let us know all about. It's just wonderful. And thank you so much for taking your precious time. I know you were, I'm chatting with some of my friends from across the world. I know you were in very many events, even as of last night. You woke up this morning, you're with us, you're again somewhere else this evening. So I understand, and we all so appreciate your time today. At this time, I would like to turn the proceedings over to one of our chairs at NSF, Sampath Narayanan. He's also been one of the coaches to present our word of thanks. Sampath, back to you.
Thank you, Sravanti. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you. First of all, our sincere thanks to 2019 World Champion Aaron Beverly, in spite of his busy schedule, spending July 12th Sunday morning with us, inspiring and motivating the younger generation to have the better communication skills. Thank you, Aaron. And also our students and parents supporting North-South by participating in the programs such as this one, which is the first time we are doing online public speaking, for the organization to serve the underprivileged community by sponsoring the scholarships. And also our amazing coaches. This is the first time we are doing. 8 coaches signed up, and I would like to call out the coaches' names. I wish I can share their photos, but because of given technical difficulties, I'm going to read out the names. Amuda, Janavi, Sravanti, Sarah, Anirudh, Nitin, Somesh, and Krishna Chopara, who was a co-coach along with me. So they thank you all the coaches for your energy, time, and enthusiasm. And finally, thanks to North-South Chairman, Board, and the national team for giving us the opportunities to volunteer towards the great cause of giving back to the community. Thank you all. Sravanti, back to you.
Thank you, Sampath. Once again, Aaron, our sincere thanks to you. Thank you very much to all our parents and participants who are here today. Thank you so very much for trusting us with your children, for trusting our entire framework of North-South Foundation, for the maiden offering of public speaking. And Aaron, on behalf of North-South Foundation, as a Toastmaster myself, and I know many of our coaches this year are Toastmasters as well, we know what it takes to be a world champion, and to have found the time, the energy, and the kindness in your heart to come help out a nonprofit like North-South Foundation is exemplary. It is what we Toastmasters do. If you can get all out of Toastmasters that you can ever get out of Toastmasters, you never get out of Toastmasters. So living up to our core values of respect, integrity, service, and excellence, which coincide or resonate very well with those of North-South Foundations, I thank you. Thank you on behalf of all of us here at NSF, and thank you all for joining us this morning.
Thank you. My pleasure.
I'll be in touch, Aaron. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Take care, everyone.